John Chappelle asking, how do you get booked on colleges when you are ready? Great question, John. And a lot of my colleges have been booked via word of mouth. Most of them have been booked from other comics I know. I can tell you in my 10 years of experience, most of my biggest opportunities and most of the comics I interviewed, which is over 300 now, most of their opportunities have come from other comedians. They haven't come from a manager, they haven't come from an agent. They've come from either a fellow comic or them being funny at a show and someone in the audience wanting to book them on something. So, in my experience, I don't have a college agent, but there are college agents, just like there are cruise ships agents and there are corporate agents and tour agents and things like that. So, there are agents within the comedy game that you can connect with and they can book you on things. There's also organizations called NACA and APCA that you can apply for. You pay to get in, but honestly, like if you can get in with colleges, it's a great investment if you can get in with colleges and get booked. But when you are ready is the key with colleges, John, because a lot of how colleges work, it's the ReBook. And one of the interviews I did with Ronnie Jordan, who is one of, I think he set the record for doing the most colleges in a single year. Like he is one of the most highly demanded college acts in the game and one of the funniest people, like period funniest people. I would put him up against anyone as one of the funniest people that I know and I've seen. Is incredible that I mean he can perform anywhere, but he kills it at colleges. And he actually has people that used to watch him in college now come to his shows at the clubs and stuff. So that's cool. He's been able to build a fan base. But he kills it at colleges. And he said the number one thing with colleges is that rebook is getting asked back. So you want to make sure you're ready because colleges have specific expectations for you. Some colleges you can't swear, or some colleges you can't talk about these topics. And there's a contract that you sign to do that. Some colleges they want you to do 30 minutes. Some colleges want you to do 60 minutes. And when they say 60, they mean 60. They don't mean 58. Like I've heard some experiences of comics who maybe got up a little bit early and they didn't get paid because their contract said 60 and they didn't fulfill that. And these are networks of colleges. So if you don't do well at one or if you're unprofessional, that word spreads throughout other colleges, and that's where that rebook comes in. So if you're not ready and you get booked on one college, that may be your last college. So there's a few routes you can go: joining APCA, joining NACA, getting a college agent, or they just kind of come to you as you're ready. I mean, a lot of these experiences in your career are going to come when you're ready for them. So it's focusing on being patient and focusing on the craft and just getting as funny as possible. So keep that in mind when you're trying to pursue something like a college gig. There is no right way, there's only your way, but you can build a team around it with agencies and things like that. But it's also like, so whenever I've got booked on a college from a friend, I make sure to follow up with them. Hey, any other colleges that we could work on together? Or if there's if their agent booked them on there and they brought me along, if I meet their agent, I'm sure to introduce myself and get their information and be accessible to them if they need anything as well. So it's just first off being ready and then being accessible and being professional. That's half of this game in comedy is just being professional so people want to work with you. Because you can only make one first impression. You want to make sure that's not your last impression. But your first impression is your lasting impression. Ooh, that's not a bad quote there. So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to get booked on colleges. There's a few. My personal experience has come from just being in comedy long enough to have friends that do colleges and that need openers. But when you're ready is best. But when you're ready, they do pay well. Corporate pays well as well. So there's all different types of ways to pursue this comedy game. Some comics make a full time living just on colleges. That's it. They all they do is perform at colleges and they make six figures and they're killing it. So there's no one path in this game. It's just kind of what you want to get out of it. And if you want to start doing colleges, start being intentional about you seeing a comic doing colleges that you know or that you could reach out to the comic. You know, comics like to help each other. That's what we're all about here in Hot Breath, is a supportive community of comics, you know, working together to become the next generation of great comics. So if you see a comic, we usually like to help each other. Reach out to them, DM them, tweet them, and ask them some questions about, you know, how did you get on colleges? How would you recommend me doing it type deal? And maybe they maybe take you on a gig with them. You just never know. Good question, John. Hey, Hop Brethren and Sistren, if you enjoyed this comedy tip, subscribe to this YouTube channel and go join our Facebook group to have your questions answered live on next week's Q&A.